John chapter 11, verses 30 through 57. Jesus had not yet come into the village, but was still in the place where Martha had met him. The Jews who were with her in the house counseling her saw that Mary got up quickly and went out. They followed her, supposing that she was going to the tomb to cry there. As soon as Mary came to where Jesus was and saw him, she fell at his feet and told him, "Lord, if you had been here, my brother wouldn't have died." How many times do we tend to see the storm and get caught up on the storm and what would have or wouldn't have been to our own understanding, instead of just trusting in the Lord and knowing that the Lord knows best? Just humble yourself. Stop trying to do things our own way and know that He's in control. You ain't going to catch Him off guard. Mary got up quickly and went out. They followed her, supposing that she was going to the tomb to cry there. As soon as Mary came to where Jesus was and saw him, she fell at his feet and told him, "Lord, if you had been here, my brother wouldn't have died." When Jesus saw her crying and the Jews who had come with her crying, he was deeply moved in his spirit and troubled. "Where have you put him?" he asked. "Lord," they told him, "come and see." Jesus wept because he was troubled. If only they could understand. If only they could see. So the Jews said, "See how he loved him?" This is to what the Jews said. They're thinking that he's crying because he loved them. He did love him, but he also loved all of them. And he wants them to understand God's way and God's plan, and to trust it. Jesus didn't make a mistake. God didn't make a mistake by Jesus not being there to heal Lazarus. The plan was for Lazarus to die so that God could be glorified through his resurrection. God doesn't make mistakes just because we don't understand it. So the Jews said, "See how he loved him?" But some of them said, "Couldn't he who opened the blind man's eyes also have kept this man from dying?" Yes, he could have. He could have. God could have kept this man from dying. That wasn't God's plan. Instead, God's trying to show these people something through this lesson of what they're living in, of what they're living out. God's trying to show them. Just like the Jews had to continue to go through things in the wilderness for 40 years so God could sink it into their mind. Stop taking themselves back captives into into Egypt, in their minds, in their spirits. Trust in God. The same lesson that we fail today. The same lesson that people fail today. The same lesson that they were failing here. Trust in the Lord's plan. He doesn't make mistakes. You're not going to catch him off guard. No matter what comes, no trial, no tribulation, no anything could separate me from the love of God. If I know I am in his favor and he has love for me and I love him and I trust him. No matter how impossible my situation seems, I will trust him. I will continue to trust him. This is why through good times or bad times, the glory will be to him. His glory forever. Rather I'm healthy, rather I'm sick, rather I'm rich, rather I'm poor, rather I'm homeless, rather I'm have abundant. Then Jesus, deeply moved again, came to the tomb. It was a cave and a stone was lying against it. "Remove the stone," Jesus said. Martha, the dead man's sister, told him, "Lord, there is already a stench because he has been dead 4 days." Jesus said to her, "Didn't I tell you that if you believed, you would see the glory of God?" Just believe. Just believe from the very beginning. Instead of thinking of a way that this could have been avoided, just believe that God's in control. Just believe that I wasn't here because this needed to happen. God was in control. Just believe. No matter what situation, what trial, what hardship you're going through at the season that you're going through it, at the moment that you're going through it, no matter how impossible it seems, how bad it seems at the moment, just believe and know. And you will see the glory of God. So they removed the stone. Then Jesus raised his eyes and said, Father, I thank you that you heard me. I know that you always hear me. But because of the crowd standing here, I said this so that they may believe you sent me. After he said this, he shouted with a loud voice, Lazarus, come out! The dead man came out bound hand and foot with linen strips and with his face wrapped in a cloth. Jesus said to them, Unwrap him and let him go. Therefore many of the Jews who came to Mary and saw what he did believed in him. But some of them went to the Pharisees and told them what Jesus had done. So the chief priests and the Pharisees convened the Sanhedrin and were saying, What are we going to do since this man is doing many signs? Of course, because humbling themselves was out of the picture, apparently. So they're saying, what are we going to do amongst ourselves when we're trying to put a stop to this man so that we could continue to get the glory instead of God getting the glory, so that we could put a stop to this? If we let him go on like this, everyone will believe in him, and the Romans will come and take away both our place and our nation. One of them, Caiaphas, who was high priest that year, said to them, You know nothing at all. You're not considering that it is to your advantage that one man should die for the people, rather than the whole nation perish. This man didn't even realize what he was saying at the moment. He did not say this on his own, but being high priest that year, he prophesied that Jesus was going to die for the nation. And not for the nation only, but also to unite the scattered children of God. That's right, the whole world. So from that day on, they plotted to kill him. Jesus, therefore, no longer walked openly among the Jews, but departed from there to the countryside near the wilderness to a town called Ephraim, and he stayed there with the disciples. Now the Jewish Passover was near, and many went up to Jerusalem from the country to purify themselves before the Passover. They were looking for Jesus and asking one another as they stood in the temple, What do you think? He won't come? He won't come to the festival, will he? The chief priests and the Pharisees had given orders that if anyone knew where he was, he should report it so that they could arrest him.